Hello there everybody, and welcome to another episode of Racist Denial Bingo, the game show for the racist right-wing reactionaries and xenophobic zealots of this world. And today we have with us internet-based pretend philosopher and all-round anarcho-capitalist dipshit, Stefan Molyneux. Welcome to the show, Stefan. Now take it away, you fucking maniac.
About where sort of low-rent thug culture comes from in Black America.
I was raised to believe that a person is known by the company that he or she keeps. This is low company. This is violent thug company.
Also on his Facebook photos were images of Michael Brown flashing middle fingers and hand signs, which may be associated with the Bloods street gang.
Police allege that Orta had slipped a .25 caliber handgun into an accomplice's waistband outside of a New York hotel. Minnesota court system records show that Castile had at least 55 traffic offenses in Minnesota.
But according to what Martin was caught with before, stolen women's jewelry and a lockpick, basically, I mean, Zimmerman was right. He tagged him as a thief. It seems pretty likely that he was a thief.
So his job was bootlegging. It was stealing other people's music, copying it, and selling those CDs. So clearly this case was, to put it mildly, an outlier. So this is not standard procedure. This is not standard happening.
The possibility is that his judgment was impaired. Now, we won't know the toxicology report for another 6 weeks because apparently it has to be sent to Mars and back. This idea, the unarmed teen, it's just a code to try and rile people up. And the race baiters are incredibly frustrating in this situation. There is a rush to judgment. There is a narrative designed to provoke a strong emotional response. It is really, really important to not, for blacks and for whites and religious people, and not to fall into this narrative that is immediately racial, that it's, oh, he was killed execution style.
Showing the picture of an clearly much younger Trayvon Martin and a lightened and whitened and heavier mugshot from 7 years previous of George Zimmerman made it look like a huge white man shot a tiny black boy.
They edited a tape to make him sound racist. Of the altercation between Officer Darren Wilson and Michael Brown that led to Brown's death. But based upon the available evidence, we do know that there's not a huge amount of evidence to support the gentle giant narrative. Now let's look at Trayvon Martin. Of course, you probably saw the pictures of this cherub-faced young boy of 11 or 12. The reality is he was a 17-year-old young black man. He was 5'11", 158 pounds, a former footballer, muscular.
A federal judge mandated that half of the Bridgeport, Connecticut Police Department's new employees must be either black or Puerto Rican. The police can't say anything, and everyone on the other side of the narrative can say whatever they want without repercussions. And that kind of hood, snitches get stitches, and, I believe, possibly thrown in ditches. So this helps us understand why there seems to be a bit of a salmon in a current conformity with regards to the testimony regarding this incident. If you did any of that, my friend, you need to look in the mirror. And then you need to look down because you have blood on your hands.
So I don't think it's white on black violence that you need to be majorly concerned about. And let's look at some potential roots of black on black violence. Now, the question, of course, is crime. Crime in the black community is a huge and significant problem, mostly for other blacks.
Since at least 2002 and up to 2013, murder, the leading cause of death for black men aged 15 to 34. The murderers almost always other black men. Found that blacks were 9.6 times more likely than whites, including Hispanics, to be charged with resisting arrest. We all know what happens if you resist cops. You can't win. Cops are very good at using force, and they carry lethal weapons on them. June 25th, an unarmed 19-year-old white man was shot and killed by police. Who cared? See, that doesn't get the Democrats votes.
The cities which are decaying the fastest are mostly in the control of the progressive, the liberals, the Democrats, the leftists.
So here are the blacks voting Democrat in presidential elections. You can see 1976, 83%, 83%, 84, 91%, all the way through. High 80s, low 90s, 2008 called Barack Obama. Because then they might not vote for the Democrats, you see? So this is what the Democrats will never do. These supposed racial egalitarians think that the black community is such a fragile and hysterical house of cards that the truth will hit it like a tornado on a penguin.
Like a tornado on a penguin.
This is President B. Hussein Obama.
Obama came in and said, hey, I'm going to solve all these race problems. This story, this victimization. The blacks, they're victims, 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 victims. This lack of evidence of racism does not stop the mainstream media, high-profile politicians, and social commentators from continually playing the race card.
But the problems in the black community at some point are going to have to be addressed by the black community.
Do Black Lives Matter to blacks? Do you know who lends the least to blacks? Black-owned banks. This is not a race issue because they did not target him because he was black. They targeted him because they'd received complaints. And whites were 8.6 times more likely than Asians to be so charged. So it ain't racism, folks.
And I really don't care that much about some of these largely manufactured stories that are actually distracting us, I think, from more important stories.
June 25th, an unarmed 19-year-old white man was shot and killed by police. Who cared?
I mean, you're in a matrix of race baiting.
And so the media whipped up as much race-baiting, anti-white hatred as humanly, or dare I say, inhumanly possible for all of the earlier race-baiting that has occurred in this tragic situation. Well, a Latino shot this black man, but I'm sure he's a white Latino, just like George Zimmerman, so that you can get a wide net of anti-white hatred going. White people are the last legitimate group that can be hated with impunity and, in fact, with applause.
It's my contention that if a suspect is willing and crazy enough to take on a uniformed, armed police officer in a physical fight, then he has to realize that he's become a deadly threat to that officer.
Imagine being a cop in New York City. These numbers, these ratios, these incredibly lopsided statistics are burned into your spinal cord, into your reflexes. Do Black Lives Matter? Yeah, of course. All life matters. Because the media won't tell the truth. They won't tell the truth about the relationships between a dysfunctional culture and high criminality. They won't tell the truth about high illegitimacy and its effects on criminality, about race and IQ.
About race and IQ. About race and crime rates. And about anti-white hatred.
To me, if you got a 4-year-old kid in the car, I don't really think you should have weed in the car as well. Maybe that's a minor note, but that speaks to character to me. No, it's all the justice system. It is the justice system that drags black men out of bed, forces them to go and commit crimes, and then just arrest them.
For emotional neglect, maltreatment rates for white children declined, while rates for black and Hispanic children increased. For emotional neglect, rates for white children increased less than the rates for black and Hispanic children.
The Ferguson effect drives up crime in black neighborhoods. In Chicago, where pedestrian stops have fallen nearly 90%, homicides are up 60% in 2016. Until 2010, Chicago published the race of criminals, but after Mayor Rahm Emanuel was elected, Democrat, I believe, that stopped. In Chicago, from September 2014 to September 2015, blacks accounted for 77% of arrests for obstruction of justice and resisting arrest.
Ho ho ho! Well, Stefan, that was a truly outstanding display of needless hatred and bigotry. And I think it's worth pointing out the ridiculous hypocrisy involved in you supporting the police, but only when they're killing brown people, of course, because you have described the police in the past as murderous enforcers of the government, and the government you consider to be the corrupt and criminal entity. Oh, what a truly racist and duplicitous little prick you are. Now let's take a look at the standings. And Stefan has raced to the top of the league with 22 out of a possible 25. What a truly despicably terrible human being he is. And for such a Nazi-licious performance, you've won $100 squillion. And you can claim your prize by simply feeding yourself headfirst into a wood chipper. Thank you for coming on the show, Stefan. And on our next episode, we'll have another asshole who you'll be ashamed to admit you're the same species as. So join us next time on Racist Denial Bingo.